What if I told you that while Rome was building its empire and the Egyptian pyramids were already ancient, entire civilizations rose and fell in a world completely cut off from the rest of humanity? This is the story of the ancient Americas, a lost world of monumental cities, strange gods, and profound mysteries. For thousands of years, great cultures developed here in total isolation, creating societies that rivaled any in the Old World. Let's journey into these forgotten empires and uncover the secrets of a world that charted its own unique course. When we think of the ancient world, our minds usually drift to the Mediterranean or the Nile Valley. But across the ocean, a completely separate human story was unfolding. The Americas were one of the last great landmasses on Earth to be settled by people, with the first groups migrating from Asia thousands of years ago. Over millennia, these early hunter-gatherers spread across two continents, adapting to every environment imaginable, from frozen tundras to dense jungles and arid deserts. And in two specific regions, something incredible happened. Farming took root, cities were born, and complex civilizations emerged that were entirely independent of Europe, Africa, or Asia. Today, we're exploring these two cradles of civilization: Mesoamerica, which stretches from modern-day Mexico to Central America, and the Andean region of South America. Our journey begins, perhaps surprisingly, not in Mesoamerica, but on the arid coastal plains of Peru. Here, in a stark desert landscape crossed by small river valleys, the oldest civilization in the Americas emerged. Known as the Norte Chico or Caral Supe civilization, it flourished between 3000 and 1800 BCE. To put that into perspective, these people were building cities and monumental pyramids at the same time as the Egyptians, and a full 1,000 years before the first major civilization in Mesoamerica would even appear. The sacred city of Caral is the most famous site of this culture, a sprawling 150-acre urban complex that may have been home to 3,000 people. Its builders constructed enormous platform mounds, sunken circular plazas, and massive residential complexes. But what's really stunning is what they built this society times without asterisk. Archaeologists have found no evidence of warfare, no defensive walls, and almost no art. They also completely lacked ceramics. Instead of relying on corn, which fueled later American empires, the Norte Chico people seem to have built their economy on cotton and seafood. They grew huge amounts of cotton inland, which they traded with coastal villages for the rich bounty of the Pacific, like anchovies and sardines. And found within the ruins are fragments of knotted textiles known as times quipu, times a complex system for keeping records that later Andean civilizations, like the Inca, would use. The Norte Chico were true pioneers, laying a cultural foundation that would echo through the Andes for thousands of years. While the Norte Chico faded, a new cultural world was awakening thousands of miles to the north in Mesoamerica. This region was a mosaic of vibrant and often warring cultures who, despite their differences, shared common traits: a reliance on maize agriculture, the building of pyramids, a fascination with astronomy, and the playing of a ritual ball game. The story of Mesoamerica begins with the Olmec, often called the mother culture of the region, flourishing along the sweltering Gulf Coast of Mexico from around 1200 to 400 BCE. The Olmec left behind some of the most iconic artifacts of the ancient world: the colossal stone heads, carved from volcanic basalt and weighing between 6 and 50 tons. These sculptures are believed to be portraits of powerful rulers. Just imagine the organization it took to move these massive stones for miles without wheeled vehicles. The Olmec also built the first pyramids in Mesoamerica, constructed elaborate water systems, and, thanks to the discovery of the Cascajal block, are now credited with developing the earliest known writing system in the Americas, dating to around 900 BCE. Their influence, seen in the jaguar motifs and ritual practices adopted by later cultures, was immense. As the Olmec declined, a new power rose in the Central Valley of Mexico, the city of Teotihuacan. Flourishing from around 100 BCE to 550 CE, Teotihuacan was a colossus, the largest and most influential city in the pre-Columbian Americas. At its zenith, it was a meticulously planned metropolis covering over 8 square miles and home to an estimated 125,000 people or more. Its grand central avenue, later named the Avenue of the Dead by the Aztecs, was lined with breathtaking monuments, including the immense pyramids of the sun and moon. Teotihuacan's power came from its control over valuable obsidian trade routes, a volcanic glass essential for tools and weapons. Its cultural influence spread across Mesoamerica, reaching even the great Maya city-states hundreds of miles away. But its end is a mystery. Around 550 CE, the city's major monuments were sacked and systematically burned, an event potentially caused by foreign invasion, internal rebellion, or crippling drought. While Teotihuacan dominated central Mexico, the Maya civilization was reaching its classic peak in the jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula. Unlike the single great city of Teotihuacan, the Maya were organized into a network of powerful, competing city-states, like Tikal, Copan, and Palenque. The Maya were brilliant astronomers and mathematicians. They independently developed the concept of zero and created a calendar system so precise it could predict solar eclipses. They also created the most advanced writing system in the ancient Americas, a complex script of hieroglyphs that recorded their history, mythology, and astronomical knowledge. But around 900 CE, the great Maya cities in the southern lowlands were rapidly abandoned and reclaimed by the jungle. So what happened? Scholars believe it was a perfect storm: prolonged droughts, environmental damage from deforestation, and constant warfare between the city-states that shattered their society. Returning to South America, a different story was unfolding in the Andes. Here, civilizations contended with extreme environments, from the driest coastal deserts to the towering peaks of the mountains. On the northern coast of Peru, the Moche civilization flourished from about 100 to 800 CE. They were master engineers, building vast irrigation networks to make the desert bloom, and monumental adobe pyramids called Times Huacas Asterisk, which served as temples and administrative centers. But the Moche are most famous for their art. Their ceramic pottery opens a stunningly vivid window into their world, depicting scenes of daily life, hunting, warfare, and complex rituals with incredible realism. Their art also reveals a militaristic and deeply religious society, with recurring images of gods and warriors, alongside evidence of ritual human sacrifice. They were also exceptional metalworkers, creating exquisite jewelry from gold, silver, and copper. Centuries after the Moche, the Andes would see the rise of the largest empire in the pre-Columbian Americas, the Inca. In a remarkably short time, from the 15th to the early 16th century, the Inca forged an empire called Tawantinsuyu, stretching 2,500 miles from modern-day Colombia to Chile. The key to their control over this vast and rugged territory was an incredible feat of engineering: the Cupacyan, or Great Inca Road. This road system spanned nearly 25,000 miles, with paved sections, stairways, and suspension bridges crossing impossible chasms. This network allowed for the rapid movement of armies, administrators, goods, and information, which was carried by relay runners called Times Chasquis Asterisk. From their capital at Cusco, the Inca ruled with a centralized government, organizing labor through a mandatory public service system called the Times Mita Times, to construct their roads and magnificent cities like Machu Picchu, with a style of stonework so precise that no mortar was needed. Returning to South America, a different story was unfolding in the Andes. Here, civilizations contended with extreme environments, from the driest coastal deserts to the towering peaks of the mountains. On the northern coast of Peru, the Moche civilization flourished from about 100 to 800 CE. They were master engineers, building vast irrigation networks to make the desert bloom, and monumental adobe pyramids called Times Huacas Asterisk, which served as temples and administrative centers. But the Moche are most famous for their art. Their ceramic pottery opens a stunningly vivid window into their world, depicting scenes of daily life, hunting, warfare, and complex rituals with incredible realism. Their art also reveals a militaristic and deeply religious society, with recurring images of gods and warriors, alongside evidence of ritual human sacrifice. They were also exceptional metalworkers, creating exquisite jewelry from gold, silver, and copper. Centuries after the Moche, the Andes would see the rise of the largest empire in the pre-Columbian Americas, the Inca. In a remarkably short time, from the 15th to the early 16th century. The Inca forged an empire called Tawantinsuyu, stretching 2,500 miles from modern-day Colombia to Chile. The key to their control over this vast and rugged territory was an incredible feat of engineering, the Qupaquian, or Great Inca Road. This road system spanned nearly 25,000 miles, with paved sections, stairways, and suspension bridges crossing impossible chasms. This network allowed for the rapid movement of armies, administrators, goods, and information, which was carried by relay runners called times chasquis asterisk. From their capital at Cusco, the Inca ruled with a centralized government, organizing labor through a mandatory public service system called the times meta times, to construct their roads and magnificent cities like Machu Picchu, with a style of stonework so precise that no mortar was needed. And this wasn't just happening in Mesoamerica and the Andes. Further north, other complex societies were also thriving. In the Four Corners region of what is now the United States, the ancestral Pueblo people built remarkable communities. They're renowned for their massive apartment-like structures and stunning cliff dwellings, built directly into rock faces for defense. Chaco Canyon in New Mexico was a major cultural center, with a complex network linking hundreds of communities. But, much like the Maya, they faced a dramatic shift around 1300 CE, likely driven by a great drought that forced them to abandon their large settlements. Further east, the Mississippian culture flourished from about 800 to 1600 CE along the Mississippi River and its tributaries. They were known for building enormous earthen platform mounds on which they constructed temples and the homes of their elite. Their largest city, Cahokia, near modern-day Street Louis, was a major religious and trading hub with a population that may have rivaled London at the time. These cultures show that the impulse to build monumental structures and complex societies was a widespread phenomenon all across the Americas. When you step back and look at it all, the story of the ancient Americas is simply incredible. In complete isolation, these civilizations independently developed agriculture, writing, astronomy, and complex mathematics. They engineered cities in some of the world's most challenging environments and built empires connected by vast road networks, all without the use of the wheel, draft animals, or hard metal tools. Their world was forever altered by the arrival of Europeans in 1492, an event that brought conquest and disease, leading to the collapse of the Aztec and Inca empires. But their legacy endures. It lives on in the languages and traditions of their millions of descendants, in the crops like maize and potatoes that now feed the world, and in the silent, magnificent ruins that still dot the landscape. These forgotten empires remind us that there are many ways to build a world, and that our planet's history is far richer and more complex than we can ever fully know. The mysteries remain, calling us to keep exploring the lost world of the ancient Americas. If you loved this journey into a lost world, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications for more explorations into ancient history. I'm also curious, which of these incredible civilizations blew your mind the most? Let me know in the comments which one you'd like to see us cover in a future deep dive. Thanks for watching.